Sounds good.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Recording in progress.
Yep. Got it.
Good. I say that for fun because I think it's funny that legal reasons they have to tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't take 2 seconds.
It did take 2 seconds. Your cat's in the way. My cat actually went up the steps, but the door upstairs is closed, so she'll probably be back down.
Yeah, I swear to you, the second that she knows that I'm talking to somebody at that point, it's just like, all right, he's live, so it is what it is.
Yeah, she wants the attention. She wants the fame.
It is. It's true.
Wants to make the appearance on the Popko Project podcast. Well, Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
Dead Sled Coffee.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, man. I hate the internet most times, but in the case of us meeting, I love it. You had followed me on Instagram, and I like coffee. I'm like, oh, this coffee company followed me. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Quite the following, quite the operation. So I reached out to you. I said, hey, let's do a podcast. I would love to talk to you about, because it's like your coffee. The slogan is, bringing you the highest quality of craft coffee with a rock and roll and horror vibe. And my podcast is primarily about music. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I like horror and I love coffee. Let's talk to this guy. So I'm like, hey, how can I get some coffee to try before we do this? Because I would love to partake. And you're like, oh, we'll mail it to you. So I gave you my address, and you said, oh, I'm right down the street. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You're also located in Wilkes-Barre? And you're like, yeah. And you have a lot of mutual friends of mine.
Yeah, that's where I initially saw you. Actually, that's why I started following you, because our mutual friend John Fry, who you just had on just recently,
yep.
I saw it pop up on my timeline. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I noticed Tanya on Instagram, and then just followed you. I was like, cool, another local company. I didn't even recognize it first. I didn't even realize at first that you were at Axelrad.
Yep.
And then I saw the mailing address, and there's no way that I'm sending this via post office where I can just take it to him the next day.
Yeah, which was great. So actually I got to try some. I have it in the background here. I tried the Wisdom in Chains.
Yeah, the Amaretto Biscotti.
Yep. Very good. I think I messed it up though. I think because I added a sweetener to it.
Okay.
And not like a sugar, like a French vanilla. I'm like, that should not have happened. But it was still good.
Yeah, that was actually our first band that we actually worked with. We were quite new at that point. We had already had Vincent Price, Bela Lugosi, Vampire copies at that point in time, but we kept trying to do music acts. And a mutual friend of ours, well, not of ours, but a mutual friend, Wisdom in Chains, she was like, hey, I'm really good pals with the singer. I'm good friends with the guitarist. Do you want me to introduce you guys? I'm sure that they'll be happy to do it. And it just so happened they're out of Stroudsburg. They're like OG Pennsylvania hardcore legends, right? So we texted, and we had a deal done in about a week. And the drummer, Luke Rhoda, is actually the one that did all the taste testing for that. He's an Italian person. So he brought it back to his roots, did all the taste testing, and there you go. And I love that coffee. But you're right. You should just use, if you're going to use creamer on it, just a regular creamer.
Yeah. I screwed up. But that's the only creamer I had in the house at the time. So it's like,
fair enough.
But I'll give it a second try for sure. It wasn't bad. It just like this probably should have just been regular.
Try black.
Okay.
Yeah,
I could see that working.
Black.
Yeah. All right. So
you'll be shocked, I think.
So it is 9:00 at night on a Tuesday. So I didn't want to have coffee, but I'm like, how can I incorporate coffee into this podcast when I'm drinking? So I'm going to have a Blackbeard's breakfast beer. It's a porter brewed with coffee.
Nice.
So here we go. So that's the coffee portion of
a game that we would love to get into at some point. Would be like a hard cold brew, a hard coffee. We would love to get to that. Our first stage, I think, is to actually get to can and bottle the coffee, and then work on because there's so many ropes, so many things that, so many things you have to jump through just to get that done. But then to include booze, that's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah. So tell me about Dead Sled Coffee and how it started. Because I think I saw on social media just recently, maybe earlier this year, you decided to, hey, let's make this a full-time thing. Let's do this 110%. Let's make this the best thing it can be. Let's quit your day job. Let's 100% in. Tell me about Dead Sled in general. Like, how did it start? Like, all the good stuff. I mean, again, I feel like I should be shamed for not knowing your name earlier. I know, like John Fry and Josh Balls and John Phillips and Chris Jones, and you're in Chris Jones's building. And it's like, how did I not hear about this sooner? And I mean, the band and corporation, everything going on. Tell me about Dead Sled. I almost tried talking to you too earlier at Axelrad, but I said, let's save it for the discussion on the podcast. Right. Tell me about Dead Sled Coffee.
Well, actually, we just turned 4. So that's where it all started. Actually, the founder of the company, her name is Diana. She and her husband are the two that actually founded the company. And she had this idea in mind of creating a coffee company, like an all-inclusive craft coffee where, we all love horror, we all love heavy metal, we all love rock and roll. And we wanted just an all-inclusive place where we discussed good movies, listened to good music, drank good coffee. And I know it sounds silly, but like that was the concept kind of behind it. And then the Dead Sled Coffee was there. And we're like, look, politics, everything else, it stops at the door here. If you want to talk about music, we're game. If you want to talk about movies, we're game. Horror movies, we're really game. And then I was actually just asked to build a website because I have an IT background. So that's where I kind of came into play. But both of them, both Mike and Diana, they're some of my best friends ever. Like we're like family at this point. And they had asked me to build a website. So I built the website for them. And the website turned into a little more work to like running the social media, to constantly updating the site, to making sure it was functioning. That turned into a small percentage of ownership. And then throughout the years, we grew and grew and grew, which my ownership ended up growing at that point. And then we just built this brand that you see today. It went from 3 horror icons that have been passed away for years to Wisdom in Chains, and then to Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, for those of you who don't know. And then that just extended into, we blew up way quicker than what we thought that we were ever going to, we went from, Robert Englund to Rob Zombie, which was just insane to us. And, signing a 2-year deal with Warner Brothers. And now we're in talks with like some other people who are really big that I can't say yet, obviously, but, and they reach out to us. So then it was like back in March, I was at a job for about 7.5 years and we were just busy. And I'm like, look, we're generating enough, I think, enough revenue. Someone needs to see this thing 24/7. Like I can't, because for the most part, I do about 99% of it, I guess you could say. So like if I had a title, an official title, I would be the COO, right? And then Diana, she's basically just the CFO. So anything that I do everything else, she pays the invoices. And then Mike, if we need him, we call him the bear sometimes. So like if we need somebody to come in on a meeting and really get things going, or if I have to bounce like ideas off of him with numbers or how to like word a proper deal, then I bring him in. But I was like, look, I do it all anyways. As long as I can get what I'm making now, at least, let's do it. And I had known Josh not too long, because we just worked together on the coffee for the Strange and Unusual, that collaboration that we put out last fall. And I had only known Josh Balls for probably less than a year, I guess. We followed each other for a little while, but we never really knew one another very well. We met like last summer to discuss that, we signed together and worked together. I'm like, hey, do you know anybody that has office space? Fast forward. And there you go. And now I've been there since March. I think March 15th-ish, roughly, I moved in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to get into all that, the working with the bands and talking to Warner and all that kind of stuff. But You said when it started, like, so did the coffee exist and you guys just kind of like were underground, and this there was like a little club that you guys kind of had that, you said, politics stops at the door. Like, how, I mean, how did it all happen? Like, how did the coffee come into the picture? Like, how did it all start?
Well, Diana has always wanted to start a coffee company, and she always had the idea in mind. Obviously, not necessarily to where it's at today, but the initial, I want Halloween colors. I want black, orange, and white. And at the very beginning, we just had we had just our regular morning blend coffee, which we still have. It's our OG, a black walnut, and a dark roast. Basically, that's all we have. We didn't have any kind of collaborations, just us. And we pumped it up and we hyped it up for a few months. We had, we had known a couple influencers that helped us push, the word, and that kind of generated a little buzz, but it wasn't a ton. It was a lot of our friends and family that shared too, So eventually, when we launched our first pre-order, there wasn't really much invested. So like the pre-order kind of paid for the first roast, paid for the first set of bags, did it, sent it out. And then the deals, then we just were like, all right, so how can we, because the coffee market is ridiculously tough.
Mm-hmm. And
it's tough to find that niche. It's tough to have people come to you instead of X, that they've been going to for 15 years. It's tough to convince some people to pay X more when they're used to paying this per bag, right?
Right.
So we're like, well, how can we do it? And to our liking, we're just like, hey, we're into horror. Let's work with some of these easier franchises to work with, these easier licenses that just have estates. And then that's where the horror came into play, which was Vampire, Vincent Price, and Vampire. Bela Lugosi. I said Vampire twice, and it just kind of grew from there, because once you offer those types of things, you get more of a fan base, you get more sales, you get more people are paying attention to you. Your follower count goes from 250 to 700, right? That was actually one of the toughest things that I've done, was to build a social media following. So the marketing part, it's been tough, but now we're finally there.
Yeah, I mean, your Instagram page is like pretty wild. I think you had 56,000,
23,000, almost 23,400 now.
Oh, I was way off. But still a lot.
Yeah, that's 20... a lot, and we got the coveted blue check.
Yeah. You always like that, right? That's good. Legit.
Yeah, that thing took me 2 years to get.
Yeah, 25,000, 25.3 thousand is what the number says. But yeah, I mean, if you got any tips and tricks, let me know, because it's a grind.
Yeah, tips and tricks are consistent posting, which I'm sure that you do, and working with people that have a big following and having them share. You know what I mean? It's just a constant thing.
Yeah.
It's just, to build 20-some thousand in 4 years, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Twitter,
for sure.
Good luck. I can't, it's just.
I don't understand Twitter. I never have. It's the Wild West to me. It's just too much going on. It's chaos.
I get it, but it's tough to get. I mean, we have some interaction out there, but we use that for D Snyder, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he loves Twitter. So we go out there for the horror community and D Snyder, and that's really about it. But yeah.
And social media is funny too. It's like I actually got flagged the other day on Facebook. My wife's friend posted a photo of her husband struggling to put together a table, and she said, the picture, and she posted along with it, she said, I love watching my husband stressed out, or something like that.
Right.
And I went to comment on the photo, just saying women are evil, because that's evil. That's an evil thing. Like you're
right.
Finding joy in your husband being stressed out, putting together a table for you. That's evil, right? I got flagged for that. They said
Unreal.
It was yeah, women are evil. It's a friend of mine. That's not like I was commented on some person's page I didn't know or whatever. It's insane. So I mean, I don't want to get off topic, but yeah,
no, that's okay.
Social media is a little and then the algorithms are constantly changing, and I think once you figure out maybe a groove and finding something that works, they're changing things, and it's a constant game.
It is, but I'm gonna tell you, engagement has been rough lately so it's like they're really geared towards reels, right? Video. So like they completely removed videos from profiles and they turned every video into a reel now on IG, for example. They're really pushing that, but we'll put a picture up of something, whether it's cool, whether it's not cool, I don't know. But we used to get, let's just say 150 to 200 likes pretty quick on it. Now we'll see like 28, 30. And like now one of our followers are purchased. We've never done that. That's all organic following. But then the next day we'll put up a video of something like a coffee meme. I think we'll get just an obscene amount of engagement. It's just, sometimes I don't think there's any real science to it, but sometimes I think I know what I'm doing, if that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I just like, I'm not talented or savvy enough in that world. Like I have a TikTok and I've played with reels. I'm trying to see if I have any, like I have a couple, like, and it's like, I don't know, like it's not my thing. Like I'm not that creative. I'm not funny. I'm not like, I don't know. It's a tough. I did one like one of those pre-made things. Like what is your all-time favorite or all-time starting five for basketball?
Right.
I got like 5,800 views or whatever it is. Like that's, I don't know if that's good or not, but like, it was like in comparison to everything else, it was like it was pretty high. But like, I mean, I can't imagine the time that people put into making the TikToks and the reels and all that kind of stuff, because they're really well done. I mean, they have to be thought out and planned. It's like I don't have that time or the talent, really.
Yeah, it's crazy now. Like it's like we're on TikTok. It's only because we basically had to go out there, right, to just kind of, because it's so popular now, and for our target audience, for our target age range, TikTok's just a really happening place. And I tried my best, and I'll go out there every now and again. I'll post a video, just like you said. Like I'm not super creative. I try to think of cool stuff or whatever to do. I'm more focused on the coffee if I can. But out there, I'll get 400 views, but then I'll post a spinning, just a simple little spinning picture of Rob Zombie's bag, and it gets like 30,000 views in like a day. I'm just like, why doesn't this happen every time that I post? It just, it makes no sense to me. Like I know that reels on IG are a lot too based on the music that you pick for the actual reel,
right?
Because some music has more reels than others. People just hit that music itself and scroll through those, so that's one thing with reels, but I don't get it. From 4 views to 40,000, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids. I'm married. Like I don't have a lot of time. Like I think about doing these reels and think I'm like, I can't do it. I just don't.
Right.
I can't pay someone to do it. I have no money. It's crazy. But
yeah, it's tough. I remember one morning in the office, I'm like, all right, so what can I do? What can I do? And like there's nobody in the office yet. Sometimes if like I'm going to do something like that, I'll try to get there before everyone so nobody sees me do it, just because I look like an idiot doing it, right? I'm like, all right, got to get this out of the way before anybody shows up. So I don't know. It was a Kanye West song. It was Runaway. So like the dings, like like the piano at the beginning of that song. I'm like, all right, so what can I do? And it was just silly, but it's just little things like that. Like, I'm just not that creative. I try to time it with the music, and it's just, here you go, Instagram. Enjoy.
Well, I mean, you're doing something right, but I mean, you started collaborating with, the horror world.
Right.
Let's get back into that.
Okay.
I mean, is that just a simple, like, let's contact, their people's people? Like, how does that work?
So the majority of our collaborations, we would go directly through the agent, right? So like, for example, Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, you sign up to a certain site, you can get the agent of anybody. You can get their phone number, their email address, anything. So certain people we wanted to work with, we got that contact information, reached out to them. And if they're interested, they'll come back to you. If they're not interested, some of them just won't even respond to you after a couple attempts. Some will just say, no, thanks, it's not for us. We most certainly had more no's than yeses, but that's just how you get on the phone with their agent. They talk to their people. Now, Robert was really cool. He came on the phone with us and was just like, oh, I've always wanted to do a coffee. And a 30-minute Zoom turned into a 2-hour reminiscing of his career. And it was fantastic. Just as a fanboy myself, I was just kind of, taken back a little bit being on there with him. But as far as someone like Warner Brothers, for example, that works a little differently. I actually almost got sued by Warner Brothers, which is why we even have.
Oh no. Oh no. I think we lost Mike. His connection was a little shaky. Let's get him back on here real quick. But yeah, it's wild how like the internet works as far as like how you can connect with people. I had no idea that this guy was right down the street from where I worked. So while I hate the internet, and I hate the internet because I just think it's kind of evil. There's just evil people out there. But there can be some good. Actually, I met my wife on the internet. I didn't meet her on the internet. I was able to speak to her on the internet because she was way too hot for me. So it was easy to message her via MySpace back in the day. So she said, no, get lost. It would be a little easier to take than a no to the face. So, I've used the internet to my advantage, but it's evil. The internet bullies and all that kind of stuff. But you can jump. Yeah, internet bullies and raising kids in this atmosphere is kind of scary. Oh no, his internet went down completely. That's not good. That means that this might not continue. I'm gonna pause it real quick here. I'll pause it. All right, we're back. Mike's internet
Recording
is
in
back.
progress. Yeah.
Mike's internet is back. Oh man, I was scared. When you disappeared, I was telling everyone how I met my wife on the internet, but really I didn't meet her on the internet. I knew of her in real life, but it was easier to see a no over the computer than be told no to your face. So yeah, so I was like, I'll try. Maybe he can jump back in quick. I'll try and save this. But I was like, wait, I could pause this. Like, come on, John, you're a pro.
Yeah, so it's so odd that Comcast did that to me. Normally they're pretty good. And like I said, like before this, I was actually on like a partners meeting, like Zoom, and there was 4 of us on. So normally it's even more of a draw.
Yeah.
And there was just no problems. But
all right, we're back. I have no idea where we were before the internet went out.
I think that I was saying, because you were like saying, like, how do all these deals come to place?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
reach out to them.
Right.
And then I got to the Warner Brothers thing and like how it worked a little differently, and how I actually met them through almost getting sued for doing the Robert England packaging.
Okay.
So when we initially designed the Robert England bag, it was the colors of the Freddie sweater, right? So it was the red and the green stripes, but they are specific reds and greens.
Right.
And the artist who did the artwork, his name is Anders Ericsson. He drew Robert England, but it was Robert England himself, but he had the Freddie glove on, holding a cup of coffee. So Robert's agent, myself, we were reaching out to all these people because we didn't want to get sued. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that we were cool with our trademarks, and nobody was getting back to us. So finally, we're like, you want to know what? They've seen it. They don't have time to respond. Evidently, it's okay. We pushed the image out to everybody, and at that time, we still had a pretty good following. I think we were probably over 10,000 on IG at that point, right? So plus Robert shared it. And once Robert shares it to his millions of followers, like everybody sees it at that point. But so we shared the artwork. We were a day before launch. I got an email from the VP of Legal Affairs from Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. And she's like, look, I really hope you didn't do that. Here's your cease and desist. You are not allowed to use that artwork, blah, 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 blah. You need to change it and you need to show it to me before you launch. P.S. I'll say it again. I really hope that you guys didn't launch that. Scared shitless.
What do you
do?
Yeah.
So I called everybody, like, guys, like, I just got this email from Warner Brothers and we're not allowed to use that packaging. Like, we'll be launched tomorrow. It was like 30 hours. I'm not sure the exact time frame, but it was close to launching. And
so you had like coffee in bags, however many bags printed.
We didn't print the bags yet.
Okay.
Thankfully, we didn't print the bags, but the public was about to
be introduced.
Start the pre-order, but they've already seen the artwork. So in their mind, they're getting Robert Englund with the Freddy glove on.
Right.
The cease and desist was for the Freddy glove, and we actually had to change the colors of the stripes. Just alter them a little bit. You know, it couldn't be the exact colors.
Yeah.
So we just altered them to like a weird dark olive and like an odd dark red, you know, almost like the red on my wall back there. Then I called up the artist. I'm like, look, we have a problem. I'm like, this is going on. We launch in X amount of hours. What can we do? You know what I mean? Like, what can we do? He removed the Freddy glove, just gave him like a regular hand holding the thing. But, you know, he put scratch marks on the coffee mug instead and had blood coming out of it, you know, to just kind of insinuate that this is Robert Englund, that this is Freddy Krueger.
Sure.
You can't trademark nail marks in a mug, right? So, but then Robert had to approve it. So then we had to send it to Robert first. And then Robert was okay with it. So then I had to send it. Then it was time to send it to Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. Sent it to him. She came back. She's like, this is totally okay. You're good. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I might as well try to turn a positive into a negative. I responded to her and I was like, hey, now that I have your attention, how do I get the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street? She responded within, I don't know, 15 minutes. She's like, here, call this number. His name is X. This is his number. This is his email address. The sweetest pie, like nicest person on the planet.
Just doing her job, yeah.
She's just doing her job. She was so nice, but I think it was also because there was no combatives from our part. It was just like, sure, hey, whatever you need changed. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, we meant no harm here.
Right.
Called him up. That turned into, that deal was 2 years. That took 2 years to finalize, close to.
Wow.
But getting the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise turned into just them, to Nightmare on Elm Street, to Friday the 13th, to Beetlejuice, and to It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2.
Wow.
And it was wild. It was a wild deal. And now we have all those properties and we have the rights to them for the next 2 years.
And what do those collabs look like? I mean, obviously you're, taking imagery from, what those series are and
from their asset library. Correct. So like you have to use specific artwork. A lot of people, they'll have somebody draw it up. Right. So for us, there's actually a portal that we log into and they give us all the artwork to choose from. And our graphics guy, he puts them all together and then makes our bags. Now certain things, it's weird. So I actually asked if I was allowed to talk about this and I can. So the rights are weird. So as far as, let's just use It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, for example, we have to be careful what's on the bag. We can't use Pennywise on any coffee bags that say Chapter 1 because Warner Brothers doesn't own the rights to Pennywise from It Chapter 1. Bill Skarsgård, a person that played Pennywise,
right,
he owns the rights to Pennywise for Chapter 1. Chapter 2, we can use Pennywise. So that's why that we launched with It Chapter 2, because we wanted Pennywise on the bag. But the only way that we could put Pennywise in the bag is if we put Chapter 2 on it.
He was also him in It Chapter 2, right?
Yes, both of them.
I wonder how that worked. I wonder why he has rights for the first one but not the second.
Correct. So I'm not sure what happened. I didn't ask questions, but they were very specific. They're like, you cannot use the imagery of Pennywise for any Chapter 1 bags. It was the same with Nightmare on Elm Street. So we weren't allowed to use the imagery of Freddy Krueger. Nobody is really allowed to use the imagery of Freddy Krueger, because Robert Englund, you have to get his permission to use that. Well, we already had Robert under contract. So while we were negotiating with Warner Brothers, I'm like, so what kind of artwork can we use? And like, well, you can't use Freddy. With me, can't use Freddy. Like, I don't want Nightmare on Elm Street if I can't use Freddy Krueger. Like, I'm not, like, I don't want a glove on a bag. I want Freddy's burnt face, right. On a bag. So they're like, well, you have to get permission from Robert. And I was like, well, we have Robert under contract, so let me call. I called his agent. She called him. Warner Brothers, he signed a little thing. Warner Brothers put an addendum to their contract and said we're allowed to use the rights to Freddy Krueger. So like, we're the only people that can use Freddy. Wow. Because we actually have the rights to Robert Englund himself.
That's wild. And what about the coffee that goes in the bag? Like, do they have anything to do with like tasting? Like, do they have any kind of say as to what flavor or style? Like, how does that work?
So the majority do. The Warner Brothers stuff we just pick because it's just us working with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers doesn't care what goes in the bag. They just care what's on the bag.
Sure.
But we do all the taste testing for those. But for Robert Englund, Rob Zombie, Dee Snider, Cypress Hill, everybody was all involved in taste testing their own coffee, especially like people like Robert, Rob Zombie, Dee Snider. Like Dee was like, I won't do anything but a Guatemalan coffee. The beans have to be from Guatemala. So I got a really good Guatemalan blend. I roasted it on like 4 different levels. I shipped him out 4 pounds of coffee that we roasted up for him, and he picked his favorite roast, and then we went from there. Cypress Hill took almost 4 months to taste test. The longest waiting taste test in the history of our company. Like, be real. And then they took like 4 months. It was insane. It was like 3.5 months or something like that. Kiss took a very long time. Kiss taste tested their own coffees. Rob was very specific. He's like, I want USDA organic. I'm a vegan. My wife and I are both vegans. And so we sent him 7 samples, a list of, the highest quality of organic coffee that we could find. He taste tested them. He's like, I like this one, and let's move forward. So yeah, they're all involved.
So were the musicians similar, like, to get them? Was it similar to the movies and things like that, as far as like just reaching out to agents and saying, hey, we want to get together with you and partner on this coffee? Like, how did that work?
So it just depends on who it is, right? So like, for example, Kiss and Cypress Hill was actually through a licensing agency. They don't use their agents, managers, nobody to do anything that has their names on it. They actually have a separate company that they hire to do all of their licensing. So if you see merch with Kiss's name or Cypress Hill's name on it, it wasn't their managers that did it. There's a specific company that they're hired to license their brand out. So that was a little different. We don't do those types of deals anymore for numerous reasons. But for Rob, we went through his agent, Rob Zombie. Mike went through his agent. He got back to Mike. They kind of went back and forth for a little while. And then Rob actually got involved in the emails. So like, it's really cool, and to this day, if Rob, wants or needs something, he'll just email Mike and they'll go back and forth via email. He's very, very involved. Dee and I, Dee Snyder and I signed our deal through Twitter. Believe it or not. He was tweeting something about coffee, him and Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed. I responded from the Dead Sled account. And like 5 minutes later, I had a DM from him. He's like, tell me more. And we DM back and forth for like 20, 30 minutes. And then the next day, I got an email from Dee, and his agents were courtesy copied. And they're like, so what's the deal look like? I sent them the template of our contract. I'm like, let me know if everything's okay, if there's something you want changed, or if you don't like something, let's have a conversation. That deal was signed in like 48 hours.
Wow.
And it just all started on Twitter. It was awesome.
Now, what do you think sets you apart from, because I imagine that like these bands and artists, they probably get a million DMs and emails and phone calls about, hey, so-and-so wants to team up and do a clothing line or a beer or a coffee or whatever it might be. I mean, is it luck? I mean, did you shoot your shot and you
I think the first few might have been, right?
yeah.
So I'll never say it's just because we're perfect at what we do. For the very first horror ones that we did, that was just because we knew somebody that already had contacts with those particular licenses. So that person introduced us to the estates and we got the deals done that way. So it was just knowing somebody there. Wisdom and Chains was knowing somebody like Robert England. That email was just shooting your shot, right? Just like you said, it was just shooting your shot, fingers crossed that they responded, and they did. And then it worked out. But I think as we grew, at this point, it's brand recognition. And that's not an ego thing. I think that if if I could tell you who I got off the phone with today, like I hope that hope that deal gets signed pretty quick, because like it's a really big deal. It's one that I've been wanting to do for a long time. We're very close to getting it done. I was on the phone with them today, and they reached out to us. So like I woke up in the morning and had a DM from them saying, "Hey, we're really loving what you do. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and you're just perfect for it." So, and then, so deals happen that way too. At this point, I think it's name recognition. I think it's, who we already work with. I mean, Rob Zombie himself was like, "I'm working with you because you have Vampira, Bela Lugosi, Vincent Price, and Kiss. Kiss is his favorite band." So the second that he saw that Kiss was already working with us, it's like, well, Kiss works with them. They must be okay, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's both. I think like the first few deals are luck. I think the ones that we just, cold call.
Yeah.
Like I've reached out to like one of my favorite bands of all time, probably my favorite band of all time, are the Deftones, right? So I can't tell you how many times I've reached out to that agency. You know what I mean? I'm just like, come on, it's just me. Hey, it's me again. Like that's just like that's kind of like a passion project for me that I hope to do someday.
Right.
Just for my own well-being in life. But there's no response there.
This whole thing is so wild. It feels like it all happened by like accident. Like, there's these, two people who have started this coffee company. You're doing web development, and then you're part of the thing, and you're reaching out to so-and-so, they're on board, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
It's been insane. Like, I'll tell you what, 4 years ago when this started, I had no gray hairs on my chin. Like, so like, I'm not going to blame being into my 40s now on that. I'm going to blame just the hustle and bustle, because for those 4 years before I left my job, I was doing 2 jobs. I would wake up in the morning. I would do all I could for Dead Slide via email or whatever. During the day I worked. I came home at night. I worked Dead Slide again. During COVID and for a little bit after, I was shipping out of my house. Like that's where the shipping was happening. Like I cleared out my office. I set it up as like a huge shipping, fulfillment center. The coffee would get delivered and I would just have cases and cases and cases on my porch, and I have to break it all down outside and bring it, like it was wild.
Yeah.
And then to see what it is now to have office space, and I'm really thankful. But it is it's been a trip. I mean, even just since March, it's been a trip. Leaving a guaranteed paycheck.
Yeah.
Leaving a job. It's like okay. You're leaving everything behind, benefits, everything at that point.
And I don't take offense to this, but like you're doing it at an age where, when you're in your early 20s, it's easy to be like, oh, I'll take the risks now. And if I fall on my face, I got plenty of time to like make it up.
Yeah.
You're talking like, I don't know how old you are, but late 30s, early 40s. That you're
I'm 42.
Okay. So you're saying you're 42, like all in, like, and if this fails, then what? Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I mean, trust me, like sometimes I still lose sleep. I'm just like, oh man, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's gonna happen. You never know. Like,
yeah.
I think we're only going to get bigger. I really do, but you never know what's going to happen with any type of business or any type of market or any type of, anything. And 6 months from now, it could be to the point to where it's back to a hobby, right? Like I don't want, I hate to speak that way, but I have to be a realist, right? And I always say, you just never know what's going to happen 6 months from now or whatever. But I always wanted to take that shot. I've never been able to, or I've always been too much of a pansy to do it. I don't know, but I had the opportunity. We all talked as a team. I'm just like, look, let me do it, because we were using a pick pack facility in Brooklyn, right? And I was, they were, it was just a hired gun warehouse, and all of our coffee was going there. They had a system where our orders were going in at that time, and they were just shipping it out for us. I'm just like, look what we're giving them.
Right.
Like just me,
Yeah.
And then imagine if I can put 24/7 to this thing, how much faster and how much bigger that we could actually grow, if someone could pay attention to it 24/7. And that's it. Screw it. I just shot my shot.
I went in. So what does the fulfillment look like now? I mean, like, obviously, I can't wake up tomorrow, throw coffee in, a bag and start selling it to the masses. Like, there's processes and there's probably FDA regulations and all that kind of shit. Like,
right.
What does that look like?
So we have 2 roasting facilities. So basically we rent time, I guess is the best way to say it, right? So right now we have a roasting facility in Newark, New Jersey, and in Brick. And we source our beans, we source our coffee, they roast it for us, during, so like we get production time with them. We do all the sourcing, we source the beans that we want, they bring them in. And then they go through their roasting process, and then they send them up to Wilkes-Barre, to my office, and then I fulfill the orders. So like I ship through X time and X time a day, and then the other times of the day, that's if there's orders, if there's like slow periods of the year, it just depends. And then I do the rest of my job. So like I do the shipping and everything. But like we roast down in Jersey, so we do have 2 facilities down there that are not ours. So I shouldn't say they're our facilities, but
right.
We like basically rent production time.
Right. So it's roasted, also bagged there as well.
Correct. It's roasted and bagged there.
Cool.
Correct. But it's always fresh. That's something that we really pride ourselves on. So it's like, if you buy a bag of coffee from us and it shows up, let's just say 4 to 5 days later, sometimes depending on supply issues, there'll be a lead time of 7 to 10 business days, and then it'll process and ship. We don't like it being that long, but sometimes it just is. There's nothing we can do about it. We're a roast to order company. Sometimes coffees get back ordered, but there's always a message that pops up and says, look, it's currently back ordered. It may be a little delay, sorry. But if you're drinking our coffee, it was probably roasted at max 2 to 2.5 weeks before you open that bag. Most are like 3 days or 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, we never keep a huge supply just for that reason. So, I don't want coffee sitting around for 6 months and somebody getting it. Right. I'd rather them wait a couple days, really love it and come back versus like, it's just coffee. It's stale. It tastes like it's been sitting there for 6 months. Like that sucks. Like that's bad for us.
Yeah.
And it kind of defeats the purpose of being a craft coffee company.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Did you experience any kind of supply issues or distribution issues during COVID?
Not during COVID at all. The roasting took a little longer. Supply issues weren't a problem, but the roasting process was much longer for certain things because they were at like 20% staffed.
Right.
So like when your staff is cut by 70 to 80% and you still have the same workload, it's going to take longer, right? So the flavored stuff always takes longer than the non-flavored stuff because it has to sit, it has to flavor, and they have to break down machines specifically for that flavor. Sure. So they can't mix and match, obviously, due to allergies and just, you don't want to flavor a straight coffee with a black walnut by accident. So, but yeah, normally it wasn't supply issues. It was just wait time for roasting, basically. Yeah. Those were the problems that we found during COVID.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I have this like a genuine appreciation for the entrepreneurial spirit. I remember being a little kid, and maybe in my teens, and um, just like thinking about owning a business and starting something. But I don't know what happened in the process. I think, I finished college and I got a job, and I started like living a life where I had to, uh, continue making money
Right.
to afford my lifestyle. So ever thinking about doing what you've done is almost like not in the cards. I mean, I have two kids, I said before, wife, house, like I got too much dependent on my salary to be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna roll a dice on this one. Like, but
Right.
obviously it's not easy. And it's like, there's long days, there's the red tape you're jumping through, a lot of people will give up. It's like, oh, it's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the 4-month process of getting a deal signed or whatever it might be. Like, what keeps you passionate about? I mean, are you passionate about coffee? Are you passionate about business? Are you passionate about both? Like, what keeps you going at the day to day?
That's a really great question. First off, I love coffee, right? Like it's just before Dead Sled, I was such a just give me whatever. I'm gonna pour a ton of cream and sugar and I'm just gonna go on, with my day. I didn't care what it was, it was like drinking chocolate. I'm like, it was, I just put so much shit in my coffee, I didn't care. Yeah. But once I fell in love, once I started with Dead Sled Coffee, I fell in love with coffee. And for somebody to sit down and just be able to just sip it black, be like, it's weird. It's like I'm so not a snob in any other aspect of life. Like it's just, but I'm such a coffee, for lack of better terminology, I'm a coffee whore at this point to where it's just like, it has to taste like I won't even stop any place anymore. So yes, the coffee is very important to me. That keeps me going. But I tell people this all the time. I absolutely head over heels in love with the hustle and bustle of business. I love it. I love reaching out to somebody, getting a reply, setting up a call, telling them why they should work with us, or even if somebody reaches out to us, I'm like, thank you for reaching out. Let's have a conversation. Whether it's getting a new wholesale account, whether it's getting a new collaboration, even something as simple as just seeing all the orders that came in overnight, right? Or something as simple as driving over to Axelrad and talking to the staff there about opening up an account to do t-shirts and things. Like I just love stuff like that. I love being on the move. I love meeting new people. It's what keeps me going. And in the back of my mind, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to be able to just kick back someday. I don't care if it's 20 years from now or 25 years from now, and see people operating it for me. Mm-hmm. Just to the point where I don't have to work anymore. I'm not talking about being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's sure. Just,
comfortable.
Right. So like from my background, from where I came from, that's just, I've never been around that type of thing in my life. I wasn't raised that way. Just, there were times in my life where I was just a complete rock bottom. So yeah, I guess those things are the things that drive me. Someday I would just love to retire at 55, 60 years old and be like, you want to know what? Don't call me unless it's
unless the building's burning down. Don't call me.
Yeah, don't call me unless the building's burning down, because I don't, no. I put my time in. It's your turn to run it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how. I mean, that's essentially. I mean, I like to think that if I were ever a business owner, I would retire fairly early, like I said, 55, and get the right team in place where they can take ownership of it in a sense and right. Call it their own, run it, and then you sit back and get a little bit of the residual or whatever you want to call it, and
forever
everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. That's it. Yeah. And but I will tell you that I will take a business call regardless of how old that I am or am not, though. I will always take a call if somebody wants to talk business, because it's just,
I mean,
I love it.
I've been in sales for a majority of my career, and there is definitely a high you can get off of
It's true.
whether it's a landing a deal or whatever it might be. Just yeah, the conversation, the ability to come to an agreement, where you feel that both sides kind of wins, and you're in it together. It's a partnership. It's not, it's not me taking your money. That's why I really enjoy working at Axelrad. I used to work in media, radio, print sales and things like that, where that type of sales is almost a thankless job. No one's thanking me for taking their thousands of dollars for a radio campaign that they really can't judge the ROI on. But when you're working in the t-shirt industry, there is something physical at the end of the day. It's like you sit down, I'm working on a company. I'm going to be building their retail store. So we're sitting down, we're talking about, garments and different styles and colors, and, creating a campaign based, logos and all that kind of stuff, which is, that's what I love doing.
Right.
My background is marketing. That's a lot of fun, but the whole process is like, it's a partnership from day one, and upon completion, they have a product they can hold and touch and see and feel. So that for me is very rewarding.
Yeah, no, it very much is. And just even just something as simple as I said, just being on the phone with the people that I spoke with earlier today. And like, I know that call went well. I know that deal is probably going to happen, but like, you just don't know what, but it just, at the end of the day, that you just formed a new relationship, and it's not just going to be one-sided for anybody. You're going to work with that person and their people for, however long.
Right.
And it's just rewarding. That's one of my favorite things too, is that throughout this process that keeps me going are the people and the friends that I've met, and like the friends that I've made. I'm thankful for some people, for a lot of people, even like Chris Jones, John Phillips, Josh Balls, all the people that are in that office, even the whole parlor staff, Morgan that works there.
Mm-hmm.
I love Amber that works. They're all fantastic people. And I never would have met them if I never would have taken that chance, right? If I never would have taken that leap, got an office there. They're all new friends. They're all new people. And I owe them all a lot just for even just accepting me into the place, right? Yeah. It's just, those are the types of things that I love.
Right. You mentioned your upbringing and things like that, and friends you've made along the way. I saw a picture on your social media. I don't know I think it was Facebook, but it was a picture, and in the picture was Simon Silver and Crystal McCaffrey.
Yeah.
How do you know them?
I was friends with Simon for a while. I used to work with Simon. Okay. So I met Crystal through Simon.
Gotcha.
So that's who I've known Simon for 8 years now, roughly. So I worked at my last job with Simon for 7 years and a few months. So that's how long I knew him. And then throughout that time, that's how I met Crystal and her husband. And now we're all like peas in a pod and we hang out,
I asked because I went to high school with both of them.
Okay.
And Crystal and I used to work together. What was my first job? I think it was hers too. A place called Mountain Fresh out in Sweet Valley.
Okay.
And I just didn't know if I was like, shit, did he go to our high school? And I should know who he is.
No. I've only lived in the area now I always lose track because I'm a terrible person with time. Right. So I never know how long something's really been going on, but I've lived in this area for 10, 12 years now, I want to say.
Okay.
So no, I'm definitely not from here. So you didn't miss me in high school or anything. Right. Yeah, no, Simon and Crystal are, and also her husband, they're awesome. Yeah. They're some of my most favorite people on earth.
Yeah. I've never had the pleasure of meeting her husband. I haven't really seen, I've probably seen her in passing, at an event somewhere over the years, but I mean, shit, I left that job. It was 2004 or 05. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But so what's next for Dead Sled?
I mean, we have some things in the works, right? So as far as collaborations go, I can't get into too much about that just because there's some things I can't say and some things aren't finalized. Just continue to grow. So it's I would love to, like I said before, I would love to get into the bottling or canning business. I would love to start canning cold brew. That's I think the next step. We're working on big box stores, like bigger ones. There's a couple things that we're going to launch that will help us get into those. But I would really love to get into canning. I want to can cold brew. I want to see our brand on the shelves when I walk in there to grab, whether it's a water or whatever, like, oh, look, there's us, so I think that's the next logical step for us. A couple years from now or a year and a half from now, I would love to even do brick and mortar. I would love to open up, not necessarily local, but maybe Scranton or somewhere, Pittston, just see how it does, but that's another risk. That's just a different ball of wax,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, these are the plans. This is the stuff that we would like to do. These are the things that we've spoken about, so we can take that next level. But we take it a day at a time. We've grown very, very, very quickly over the course of 4 years. I'm not sure if we want to grow as fast as we did in another year, just because it's just me, what I mean? But yeah, those are our goals. We're not sure where we're going to go. We know the people that we're going to be working with here shortly and launching. But in terms of long term, bottling, brick and mortar, things like that.
Well, you got to grow, so you hire more people, because you're never going to get to that retirement setting that we just talked about.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
You need,
you
need to grow.
Sure.
You need to add some people to your team, so you can take a vacation once in a while.
Yeah.
Take a weekend away,
We're hopeful, so we're working on some things as far as taking the next level, being able to bring in like a staff member to do something, or a couple staff members. There's some things that we have to work on first, and potential investment opportunities for particular people, things like that, in order for us to, take that next leap where we want to go. Like we want to be on grocery shelves. We want people to go, oh, this person, oh, cool. They're here. Wow, they're here now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how the coffee game goes, but you're in the right building, because you mentioned Parlor, and they've been able to kind of make a decent sized footprint in the local area here and in stores and things like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm not sure if the process is the same with those beverages, but
I don't know. These are meetings that I have to set up. These are people that I, have to look into. You can definitely hire like a co-packer type thing for people to bottle your cold brew for, or to can your cold brew. But it's continuity is so important to me. I'm such a, that's the only thing I'm such a stickler with it. It has to be that quality.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I don't want to do it. It has to taste exactly the same how I make it, or it's just,
Well, dude,
no.
I don't know how many times I've said over the years, I would get Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Right.
I keep saying all I want to do is I want to open up Dunkin' Donuts, and I want to pay 5 friends, and I want to pay them very well.
Yeah.
And their sole job is just to make a consistent cup of fucking coffee.
I don't think I've ever tasted two
They're
not
the
same ever.
You could go to the same place day after day, and it's different every day.
It's different every single day.
Man.
But it's quick and it's cheap.
Well,
and
hey, you know what? I started making coffee at home now, thanks to you. I got 3 bags of Dead Sled coffee here. I'm gonna get through, and so I'm avoiding the stop at Dunkin' now, and making coffee at home, and I can do the quality control as far as the consistency of sugar and cream, things like that.
Yeah,
and it's
and I always tell people
it's not Dunkin', it's craft coffee. So
right. And I always tell people, because they'll, because some people, some will ask me, they're like, well, what's the proper way to make a cup of coffee? Just because I can come off this is the only way that I drink it. I'm like, the only way to drink a cup of coffee is the way that you like to drink that cup of coffee. That's it. It's regardless of your coffee knowledge, I don't care. I don't care if you throw a pound of sugar in your cup of coffee and a gallon of milk. You know what I mean? It's just, it's as long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters to me. Now, I hope you don't have to do that so it tastes good. It's just, but to me, it doesn't matter. The way somebody likes it is the way that somebody likes it.
Yep. That's cool. I had a question for you I wanted to ask before you left. Oh,
Yeah.
if people are watching or listening right now, how can they get some of your coffee?
So if you just go out to deadsledcoffee.com, we have numerous options out there, from flavors to different origins to different roast levels. Hit us up. Hit me up. If you sign up for our mailing list, you'll get a percentage off your first order. But hit us up on social media too. You're talking to me, so just so you know, so it's like, if you ever have a question, feel free to answer. A lot of times on social media, your DMs will go to junk, so I won't see them for a couple days, but I promise you that I'll get back to you. We answer everybody to the best of our ability as fast as we can.
Very cool. And if you had a wish list, top 3, I know you had mentioned Deftones before, but bands, who are your top 3 that you want to work with?
Oh man, I've been asked this before, and I always get stumped on it because it's tough, right? So it's like, I would love to do, obviously Deftones would be one of my number ones. Like, it was just like, if it was just for fanboying, just for egotistical purposes, it would probably be like Deftones, Breaking Benjamin, and say, like, man, that's tough, because like, I love classic stuff too. Like, I would love to do, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I would love to do like a Led Zeppelin or like a Pink Floyd coffee, right? Like, to like get the rights of that stuff. But definitely Deftones, definitely Breaking Benjamin. The third one's really tough for me, to be perfectly honest with you.
I feel like you have an in for Breaking Benjamin. I feel like you have a small in.
Yeah, maybe.
I think you might know a guy.
Mm. Yeah, I would also love to do the Halloween franchise for coffee too.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do the Halloween franchise. I think that'd be fun. But but like, I think for anybody else, I just like, yeah, Deftones, I'm good. Like, let's just do that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I feel, like I said, I'm ashamed that I haven't heard of you sooner. You're right down the road from me. You're in. I mean, I've been in this area since the day I was born. I've been in the media scene, and I've been in like marketing and just local business for so long. And it's like, how the fuck did I miss you?
No, that's all good, because I'll tell you what, that actually motivates me more to be like, all right, so how do they not know that we exist, right? So let me figure out where, I'll ponder that too. I'll say, okay, so how didn't he know? How can I fix it so everybody knows, right? So it's just, now my brain's going to go off.
I always joke. I mean, you appear on the Popko Project podcast, you might be fulfilling 1 million orders tomorrow.
100%. Let's do it. Let's do it. And if anybody mentions the podcast, I'll freaking email them $10 gift cards. There you go.
Okay. All right. You heard it here. $10 gift cards. Mention Popko.
Yeah.
When talking to Mike at Dead Sled Coffee. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into the rest of this coffee over the next few weeks. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. It'll be episode 99.
Awesome. No, thank you for having me. I love doing these things. I'm trying to get back into, like, I'm working on starting a Twitch channel, and it's just, the timing is weird, but I have, here and there, like, I have some inspiration, like some people that will help me and give me tips and the trick. I'm trying to get back into podcasting kind of, but not really like live streams, right? Of just talking, sipping coffee or watching horror movies, having a good time. It's having guests come on. Hopefully it starts soon in the fall, but it's a lot. Like, I have no idea how Twitch even works, right? So
again, I feel like some people close by,
right,
that can help
that
you.
might know that might know what to do, and those are the people that might be helping me if I ask them.
Yeah.
I
think you're all right. I think you're set up for success.
So, for sure.
So awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm very happy that I've been introduced to Dead Sled Coffee. And please, by all means, I'll have to come visit you at your office. I actually have never been over.
You're always welcome.
I've never been over there. I guess I know John and Aaron and Josh and Chris and
right.
the other John. I've never been over there. I've never seen the. Like Chris had me over there when, like, I think it was like mid-COVID, and like the offices were shut down. He just kind of gave me a small little tour. It was
Yeah,
before.
because I believe Josh even told me that like at one point during COVID, it was just him and Chris that were in that building, like basically for the most part, and it was empty.
Yep. So yeah, I haven't been over there since.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're more than welcome to come over and hang out at Axelrad. But
Likewise.
thank you again.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, cheers.
All right, see you.
Show what your small business sells in 7 seconds.
You made me breakfast in bed.
Well, coffee anyway.
Sled Coffee.